Yep.
It's October 3rd at 5:21 p.m. We call a roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Ruben Benny Salinas?
Absent.
Mr. Daniel Waters?
Here.
Mr. Armin Vandor?
Present.
Mr. Juan Salinas?
Present.
Mr. Cesar Cantu?
Here.
Mr. Jesus Ruiz?
Present.
And Mr. Edward Ochoa?
He texted that he had car problems.
Okay,
They won't be able to make it.
okay. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, real quick, before we start, I'd like to, I spoke to Benny on Tuesday. He said he could not make today's meeting due to work.
Okay.
I'd like to move a motion and excuse his absence if that's possible. So it could be just that it was excused and instead of just absent.
I don't know if it makes a difference, you can excuse them, but I was told by legal department that at every meeting, excused or unexcused, it still counts as an absent. So 3 excused or unexcused absence in 1 year, calendar year from the time that they said.
Calendar or?
12-month period, and they started in, I want to say in June or July of this year. It's still.
With that being said, Mr. Chair, rescind my motion.
So, yeah, I wish, this is coming from our legal department. So, I mean, but you can excuse them if you like, you know, if it makes a difference, I don't think it will, but.
I don't remember who set the date and the time of the meeting. I guess we set it internally, right?
At the time, actually, when, the last time we had a quorum and met, when we had officer change, at that point, we decided when we would be wanting to meet, and you can always decide to try to change it, and I'll just need to accommodate with city management and city secretary's office to better serve, you know, this committee.
Yeah, we had set it, in particular, the first Wednesday, just because of the cycle of trying to be able to get on city council agenda.
Yeah, the intent was to, whatever decisions were being made, that it could either go to the P and Z or to city
Oh, yeah, that makes
council
sense.
right away.
Yeah.
And that was the intent, but I mean, if it's not working for.
No, I just meant, I don't know if there's any guys that end up not showing up because maybe they couldn't get here till 5:30, you know, or something like that,
Oh,
as
the time.
opposed to, yeah.
The time.
I think it wouldn't hurt as much at 5:30, but we take that up in other business. Yeah.
You can make a motion for that, and we can adjust to that if that's what you want. So, I don't know if that.
Benny just
satisfies-
mentioned that he had work-related
Okay.
items. That's why he couldn't make it today.
I understand. So,
I need to get those schools finished.
I guess the next item is the approval of the minutes. We've got 3 dates on here. I don't know if we have the minutes for all.
no, I'm gonna ask the committee, the regular meeting of July 11th, I'm still working on. That's the meeting that was held here. And I'm still working on it. The actual August the 1st, I'm gonna ask this committee, that's when we elected officers and we spoke. The recording is not there. It never, even though it was recording, it recorded static, something to do with the formatting. So I guess we can go back and look at the agenda. I have some notes, but I want to make sure I capture everything. I rely a lot on the video, and now that all the videos are now online, if you guys go to the website, the City of Laredo website, go to committees, you can view all the meetings, and actually it goes to, it links you to YouTube, and you can actually, it actually
So
comes
what about
out.
the changes that we had agreed on? The
We're still working on, last meeting, when we didn't have a quorum, was gonna be the last meeting we were gonna look at the irrigation. So it turns out that this is the last meeting that we're gonna look at the irrigation. You wanted irrigators here and to decide finally what it was, so that would be the first item to try
Well,
to.
we made some changes, some suggested changes. Do we have those?
We're on the July 11th meeting, there is some changes. Remember, that was the one that was supposed to be July the 4th, that was moved a
But
week
on the
later.
August meeting was where we actually got into the, well, I probably have it on my drive.
And that's what I'm asking for,
Okay.
to,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we dispense with the July 11th and August 1st approval of the minutes.
Here, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, I don't know how to, I'm not real good on rules of
On the-
order.
Yeah,
I just had a question.
so,
yeah, okay, go ahead.
I just had a question, since we've got the AEP guys here, if maybe we talk about the,
Yeah, well, let's just finish this and we'll make a
Okay.
motion to bring it up.
okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Ex-Chairman.
so I guess the next item would be the chairman, committee report,
I think
communication.
we still need to approve the June minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the June minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, Chairman Committee Report and Communications.
As far as communication from staff, I know one of the items that we're gonna discuss is the setbacks and easements, which would be item 6. I know that city management was looking into revamping and hiring a firm to redo the entire land development code. So I know that this is something that the committee wanted to look at as far as setbacks and maybe easements and things like that, but I don't know if any changes that you guys want to look at, would you rather wait until it's done? Because it would probably take about a year or so, or would you want to do changes now and then go back and?
I think, personally, I think these recommended changes will go a long ways to helping them when they revamp the ordinance, and they can, at that time take some or
And that's-
because I think the changes that we're suggesting are consistent with some of the items in the current comprehensive code when it comes to rear lot access and that kind of stuff. So-
Well, one of the things that this committee discussed was, what was the Board of Adjustment looking at as far as, and I'm still working on those minutes, what was the Board of Adjustment looking at as far as,
What are they approving?
what are they approving that is kind of not allowed by the land development code? You wanted that information so that you could know what is it that the Board of Adjustment was looking at. That is something that I still need to bring as far as present to this committee. That's why it wasn't just about minutes, it was a little more than that, so.
Well, when I sat, Johnny, were you in the Board of Adjustments at the same time?
Hmm?
Yeah, when we sat at the Board of Adjustments, there was many instances where we allowed for getting closer to the rear setbacks. In other words, getting to 10 feet on the setback in certain circumstances. In other words, the people had to come in, and I remember a case in particular, it was Mr. Espinosa, that had a particular customer that they were adding a room to the backyard, and through the committee, we allowed 10 feet in the rear yard, I think, or maybe even closer than 10 feet on one instance. And then we had a couple of instances, or at least one instance that I remember where somebody was trying to build some apartments and it didn't get approved.
The one I see a whole bunch, in our subdivisions that had to go in front of the Board of Variance is people building carports. And I think we were all in agreement when we had our initial discussion here. I don't think, I think there's only a few issues that we're all concerned about. I know AEP wants to work on their easement.
I think
maybe
maybe,
Cesar wants to work.
And maybe when we open up the item, I'm just still in council, in communication.
Yeah.
Let's open up the item, but I guess from staff's point of view, is what exactly be more specific on what setback, or was it rear, what's the distances, what is allowed as far as maybe, if it's a storage room, or is it something that's livable? It's very, I know right now, and is it gonna be for any lot, or is it gonna be for future lot? Because there's a lot of lots that have easements, or there's a lot of lots that are already platted and it's not allowed. That kind of thing is what staff wants to know. What exactly, we'll be more detailed.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah.
I
So-
had sent at the last, before the meeting that got tabled, I don't have enough copies. I had sent kind of my comments in writing, because I wasn't gonna be able to be at the, meeting. And then what's below that, Johnny, I copied and pasted what Johnny had discussed. So at least from my standpoint, there's one extra copy, but anyway.
Do we want to open up the item?
But yeah, I mean, as far as communication, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
Can I make a motion that we,
So-
approve item number 6?
Second.
all in favor?
All right.
Motion carries.
Okay, so item 6 is open. We need to read out let me read it out. Discussion with possible action regarding the City of Laredo Development Code, Chapter 24, Article 4, and Article 5 for the purposes of revising the dimensional standard setback requirements and any other matters incident thereto. So now that we have that, and I guess I could put up the actual dimensional standards up here for those that may not have
Mr. Chairman, may I give them the drive, it's got the code book, the land development code in here.
But I sent, I've already sent
That-
Excel,
Okay,
this is an Excel version of it that I think we're gonna, are you pulling up the,
yeah, but I wanted to, and this one, I've got some other pages that assume, based on whatever we recommend here, that we know where to go.
where it's gonna affect everything else?
Yes, if I may just give him this.
Sure,
What?
You just popped it up there, but.
Okay. Will you pop this one in there?
Yeah.
Instead of
You already have
the,
them tabbed, gotcha.
yeah, in other words, I've got the
Yeah.
page numbers here. But open up the Excel spreadsheet, because I think that's the important one. Then and then on that drive, I've got, drive that says,
NIJ. Yep.
yes,
Which one is it?
the one that says setbacks. Okay, and then,
The document.
no, the top one. That's a code book, the latest code book, and then I make notes on certain pages,
Okay.
okay? So, but open up the Johnny spreadsheet. I can tell you where the pages are.
Johnny's spreadsheet, what do you mean? This
No, you said you sent it to him, right? No, that document is what I passed out.
Okay.
You want to copy that folder so I can?
Well, we can make annotations here and then put them on the deal.
Oh, but did you send him your spreadsheet?
No, but I've got a USB drive also.
Oh, okay, well, then just.
It's not as clean as yours.
Oh, well, no, it's got some garbage in it.
No, nothing like that, it's just.
Make sure it's.
I gotta go through
Okay.
16 deals by the time I get there.
Yeah, because I didn't redo that spreadsheet. I made notes on that sheet.
Mhm.
Like if you want to go to, I think it's page 187 on the document that I put in there. But it's not an Excel spreadsheet, so we need to open up yours.
That's pretty impressive, Chewy. A lot of files on our committee.
Oh, I didn't know I had all those with me.
Oh, no, that's Roland's.
That's real.
Margaret,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I just deleted everything. I deleted everything.
Your office committee, because, wow.
I'm gonna rename yours Chewy,
No, I put in there, suggested change, oh, Chewy, okay, I'm sorry.
just so I know, because I also have the land development code saved a lot of places.
Yeah, I added the deal to the back of it, so I know which one was.
Yeah. You think so? All right. So, currently this is the, let's see. I don't know if everybody could see that, but I can make it bigger and scroll over or whatever.
Okay, so will you minimize that just for a second?
Minimize it, yes.
Yeah, and then go to page 187 of the Chewy document, I guess, the land development code. That,
That's not yours.
yeah,
Oh, wait.
you can have them both open at the same time.
Yes, I can. Don't ask me why they're in, all these names are here. Let's see.
Even at the land development code itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's in the, you've got it on the
That's it.
Adobe, you hit that little Adobe thing on the bottom, it's already up.
That's it, is
That's
it?
it? No, no, just click.
Oh, there it is, yeah, you got it.
Just click on the bottom.
The bottom,
Click.
the bottom
Yeah,
icon?
there
you
it
go.
is.
Okay, so you'll go to page 187. Oh, yeah, 187 up there. There you go. Okay.
Okay.
So then, based on whatever gets approved here, then we can just make it changes to your document. Basically in there, what if you look at the top, I just put some examples. Within our current code, our dimensional standards, our land development code has many areas where 10 feet setbacks are allowed. And it has instances like in certain areas to where it's less than 8 feet, like in the commercial business district. That one has like 8 feet, so long as you have a sidewalk running in front of it. And some of them, it talks to like rural areas that you have to be a certain distance from the deal. So the top one is, like, there's two examples right there where a 10-foot building setback is allowed. And then even further down, if you can zoom in on the E.
On the E?
Yeah, down below. It says minimum setback is 0, provided the setback, that's in the downtown, I don't know if it's a new district that you all established or the business district.
I think those are lots of records. Huh?
No, that's for, go back up. That's for the
E's are here. These are the E's you're referring to?
yeah, no, well, it's A, I guess it's A.
Oh,
So,
A.
Yeah. So it's the AE district. You see how the AE district?
Oh, that's.
Oh, that's a zone, that's a zone, that's not a,
Right, so what I'm saying is that, in other words, we have a lot of instances where a front yard setback is allowed for 10 feet.
The only
Should-
comment I have is just on the R1MH, that 10 feet focuses a lot on the mobile home itself, but the parking is set on the side.
Yeah, no. And in my comments,
You must,
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's exactly right. And
And
and when we get to the law dimensions, just want to discuss, there's no reason that the minimum lot length on a mobile home should be 100 feet.
I
Okay,
guess,
well,
I
can I
guess
read
we
this?
should probably,
Yeah.
well, everybody has a copy of that, but I think maybe it would be more effective if we just bullet point out
Yeah, one by one.
what
Yeah, that's why I had
issues
that, that's why I
are.
wanted
Like
to-
one,
and
two,
I want to
three.
point out specifically what is it that we're trying to achieve in a specific, maybe residential's, or is it all lots?
I think it's all lots, and when I say all lots, because this is one of the things, when I talked to Mario Peña one time, he said you should focus on maximum setbacks. He used the word maximum setbacks. And our current code does not allow us to put buildings to the front and then put parking in the rear. So maybe if I can just read this real quick.
It does allow us.
No, because you have a 25-foot building setback on commercial buildings.
Right, well, but,
I thought, well, I guess,
Yeah.
just in case, I thought when council was approached us, I thought they focused only on residential. I don't recall, they were focusing more on residential, trying to build more for
That's
for
right.
residents. I don't know if it can deviate
Councilman
from.
Rodriguez has a lot of
Yeah.
problems with code enforcement in his area. Not the problems are code, are people violating the code.
right,
Yeah,
well,
And he was concerned solely, but he was the one who initiated this.
Yeah,
He
I
was
just
solely
want to focus
concerned about
to the
residential.
directive, yeah.
Okay, well, let me just read this and then we can proceed. Is that okay, Mr. Allen, if I can read this real quick? It'll take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can start counting. The setbacks should be reduced to 10 feet front, 5 feet rear on residential as a standard. Well, let me start from the beginning. If you look at the current development code, you'll see many instances where a 10-foot setback is allowed, however, you have to ask for permission. I suspect that hardly anyone asks because something more onerous is asked in return for the additional time involved. So even though they give you permission, it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna give up to get permission? You know, so it's people that don't even go through the process. My comments are the setback should be reduced to 10 feet front, 5 foot rear on residential as a standard where driveway access is at front. Okay, the reverse when access is at the rear. Alleys access has a 10-foot rear setback and a 5-foot front setback. Add a note that the site visibility, parking, and utility setbacks are enforced at the building permit stage. So basically, what I'm suggesting is that we allow the families, the business owners to have more flexibility on where they place their buildings, but that at the building permit stage, that, you know, the issues of site visibility, are we in a corner? Can we not see? Do we have any issues with utility setbacks? That those, you know, and that the parking, you know, if it's a two-car garage, that two-car garage be set back 20 feet, and that those are enforced at the building permit stage, not as a blanket. Every lot has to have 20-foot front setbacks, 20-foot rear setbacks. On commercial, which has changed from the current 25 feet front to 10 foot, like the residentially. Additionally, on side and rear setbacks, we should change to the 5 feet on instances where a sprinkler system is installed. Same plat note for both parking, etc. There should be an additional exception by agreement between two landowners on commercial, that by agreement they can have a zero lot line and attach the buildings, kind of like in the, I believe this, or I used to see this in McAllen, where all of a sudden there was a strip center, and like all of a sudden people were attaching their units and that attach them.
Emperor Garden set up like that.
Emperor
Like next to
Garden?
the Emperor Garden there. Right.
Strip centers can be individually owned without the need to do a commercial condominium. They just need an agreement between parties. Typically, when you're trying to sell and it's under a condominium regime, you know, all the nationals are kind of like, oh, you know, we don't want condominiums. Okay, if this committee, along with P&Z, recommends and council approves the changes, it will shift more decision-making to the landowner as how to improve their land and will increase the tax base per square foot. It's a win-win scenario for all involved, including utility companies. And when I say utility companies, because you know, the utility companies, you know, don't have to run lines as long, you know, it saves them also money. Maybe they need more transformers, but you know, all the trenching, all the maintaining of lines and all that other stuff, it should help reduce the cost to them. And then Johnny added, I think we should also address the minimum lot size for a duplex. The formula for a multifamily is 1,200 square feet of lot area for one bedroom. Additional 400 square feet of land needed for additional bedroom. The minimum lot size for a duplex is 6,000 square feet. I agree with that. That's in the R3 zone, I guess. Lot size needed to build the following: one bedroom units, duplex 6,000 square feet, threeplex 3,600 square feet, fourplex 4,800 square feet, two bedrooms 6,000, 4,800, and 6,400. This part of the dimensional set has never made sense to me. Please bring it up if you have that. Those are my comments.
And Johnny said the duplex, right?
The duplex.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna be able to make the last meeting, so that was part of an email, I think, that I sent.
Victor, can you remind me, what was the directive from council?
It was on the R1s.
Only on the R1s and
Yeah.
only setbacks on the R1s?
Yeah.
So that's what we're limited to?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we've got all residential, which would include R1.
Yeah, but when you talk to council people, like, when I brought this, discussion with Mr. Allgilt, you know, he's kinda like, you know, I don't understand these things, we should address the setbacks and all the, you know, and all the areas. So I know that council people are concerned with setbacks, and I think it became very evident to the council people when that Manzini guy, or I don't remember what guy, the architect, brought in a consultant, and he talked about, you know, the land use and all that other stuff, and where the urban sprawl, you know, was costing the city a lot more money, where if you create more density, then it reduces the cost to the city. So under those.
The only comment I'll just make is that the motion was made from Councilmember Rodriguez. I don't mind, I think if in the future we look into the other zones, but I just want to just isolate it to the R1, specifically R1, and address that component.
And I agree completely.
I agree, and I think that's gonna take the whole meeting.
I didn't think it was limited to R1 either.
No, never.
Yeah.
Not R1, but residential.
For residential,
R1,
that's-
R1A, R1A.
I think commercial needs to be dealt with too.
Well,
Yeah, I
let's
think-
come back
well-
and request, you know, we can call Councilman Rodriguez and have him, or ask him if he'll expand and clarify his resolution.
I
because-
think for this meeting, but, no, I agree, but I do think for this meeting, you're right, we should focus on, because it's gonna take the whole meeting just focusing on that one piece. Or we can take the whole meeting deciding what we're gonna look
At
at.
that, and
But
we finally, we already had an agreement, I'm sorry, John. We're already in agreement on what needs to be done to the irrigation ordinance, the landscapers are in agreement. What sure would be nice just to get a motion to, we have a solution for it, somebody would.
Yeah.
Okay, but.
yeah, we'll go back to that one right at the end. No, I agree. So,
As far as staff, I also wanted to point out a couple of things. I know you're referring to all existing lots. What are we gonna do about easements? You're
Well,
wanting to
in other
reduce-
words,
I mean, so easements are gonna be fully respected?
Yes, in other
I mean,
words,
they have to, right?
the visibility,
proposal.
parking, utility setbacks, which are those easements, utility setbacks are enforced at the building permit stage. In other words, so when somebody, in other words, we change the setback requirements. Okay, you're in an existing, let's say it's the Heights area. You've got, you know, power poles behind your property. You're not gonna be able to go, you know, 5 feet in the back. Why? Because they need their easements to be able to get to those power poles.
Well, what
So it becomes when they, in other words, give an opportunity to the landowner to use their land that they're paid for, you know, sacrifice to pay for, to the maximum use, so long as they allow access for utilities, so long as they're not parking on the street, and so long as there's no visibility concerns. And those get dealt with when they come and apply for a building permit. In other words, at that point, you're looking at it and say, okay, well, I'm sorry, I know it's a 5-foot rear setback, but AEP, you know, needs to be 14 feet away from, you know, the structure needs to be 14 feet away, or it needs to be 12 feet away from that deal, so no, you can't, you know.
Yeah, so let me interrupt real quick. Victor's issue. This started, I don't know if John was there, 4 months ago. I was having lunch with Councilman Rodriguez. And his concern was, what do we do about the problem that happens right now with, and, you know, what do we do to keep it from doing in the future? So if the city has, you know, a side easement or something like that, and you probably heard it directly from the councilman also.
Yeah.
I heard it from him today.
I heard, when I spoke to the council member before the item came up on the council meeting, pretty much the issues that he's seen on his district a lot, that I've had that communication with him. It's been mainly the carports. People want to do their carports, and then when it comes for the rear, and trying to do an addition and the palapa component.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the three violations. If you ask building, what's the violations that we see the most? It's in regards, when it comes for the front setback, it's carports, and when it comes to the rear, it's addition and the location of the open structure.
And the other thing I want to add to what Victor is saying is, they come in and say, I want to build this carport. And they're basically told, well, you can only build 50% of setback, because that's what the current land development code says. And they're like, well, I can't use a 10-foot carport. So they leave and they build it anyway without a permit. Or they do the palapa, and then they end up getting fined or things like that. And in some cases, they end up building, oh, I'm gonna start up as a palapa, and then they later on make it into a full-fledged living area. And then you've got issues, and so, I mean, I get emails all the time saying, hey, look, I mean, even from AP saying, look, they built something here, there's a residence, and it's been there, and there was issued a permit, there's a transformer right next to it, literally less than a foot.
And the only comment, just to kind of just end on the perspective view, I know we'll discuss it more. When it comes to the front, we're more looking on the open structure, not on the closed. We still want to keep that 20. But if it's that carport or such, we're willing to be flexible. And then when it comes to the rear, the only thing that would concern us is just really the easements and the separation on the fire. So that's kind of just the angles from our angle. I know, and I don't know, now that we have AP, I don't know if they have a general perspective.
Well, let me jump in here real quick. Right now, we're getting a significant number of, it seems like they all come in at once, easement encroachments in the back, where you have palapas, buildings, all kinds of stuff that are limiting our ability to access our facilities in the back. That's one of the reasons why we've been promoting pretty hard to go to front lot construction going forward. And if this is going to benefit, or the promotion of front lot construction, I'll be in agreement, because I would love to put our facilities in the front, in an easement, in the setback, adjacent to the right-of-way. It's got to be in an easement, not in the right-of-way.
Yeah.
And eliminate all utilities in the back. They'll let him do what he needs to do with pools, and we're serving the house from the front.
And it's
But we get a lot of opposition to front lot construction.
But how are we gonna do that for lots that already have easements, already have infrastructure?
It's already dealing with the problems already.
We're dealing with those right now, and see, right now AP's looking at, we've addressed transmission line, rear lot encroachments, with temporary restraining orders, injunctions where we have the customer remove the encroachment. On transmission, we haven't done that yet for distribution. That's why we're coming to you guys to help us with those encroachments on a distribution.
And I'm going to
AP's getting ready to take a stronger stand on distribution easements, where we may be filing temporary restraining orders on customers to remove those encroachments, because it's really limiting our ability to address those facilities, especially during outage situations, because the customer next door may be out, but the facilities are on the customer that has power, because we need to get in there to connect from one side to the other.
My perception of the problem is this, that when the consumer wants to do an addition to their home, they say, I'm gonna get denied, so I'm gonna do it on the
Yeah,
weekend.
they do it anyway.
So if we, exactly, so they don't apply so if we allow them more control over the improvements of their property, and that they know that they have to come, that they have a higher potential of getting a blessing from the city, and then at that point, they come to you with this is my plan, and you say, oh, no, but we've got a power line here, you can do it, but, go back, an extra 3 or 4 feet, then I think that's the
Let me just
perception.
say, real quick, thousands of lots in my older subdivisions, people weren't even aware that there was a rear back. It's not that, and then when the few that were go and get denied, or they get denied for a carport, and everybody on their block's got a carport. So, I think we address the future issues and whatever we can do, but I was.
You need people to be able to come and apply. And right now, the system that we have, people don't want to apply because they're going to get denied. In other words, that's the issue.
So I think everybody's in agreement with it. I don't know,
Can I have
I'd like to hear from the planning director. I don't know.
Internal.
Internal, as far as the setbacks go, do you see any big
Well,
issues?
we were discussing it earlier. When they were asking me what is the planning department's position, without knowing, until I got here, I didn't know what it was that was being proposed.
Okay.
So it would be difficult for me just on the fly
Sure.
to formulate a position, and especially with our new comp plan, we will want to very carefully review any proposals in light of what it is that the comp plan indicates.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, right now, I wouldn't be able to give you, a position without having specifics.
The one question that I guess I would just ask, I don't know, I guess the comprehensive plan or I really don't know it too much in detail.
Mm-hmm.
The only concern that I don't want to go 100% against what you're promoting, Chibi. The only concern when it comes for the enclosed structure
Mm-hmm.
on the front is one, one of the concept of the front easements. Two, there's requirements when it comes for trees
Mm-hmm.
also. And so if you're limited to exaggerating, stricter, if you have a 6-foot front easement and then the tree, and you're limited to that 10 feet, it doesn't fit. And so, but I do like the concept, at least you're promoting on the driveway, that you're respecting.
Oh,
that
yeah,
component.
we respect
And so
that.
it's those little detallitos, and then the other component is just that visibility. I don't know if the comprehensive or the comp plan has anything in reference to
I
that.
would have to look it up.
Yeah.
I can't tell you right now.
See, right now, we're really promoted front lot construction, or we're giving the developer full allowances for front lot construction. It's gonna be more expensive to develop lots with rear lot easements because of all the issues that we have. So anything that we can do to promote front lot construction, that's what we need, the direction that we need to take. And a 6-foot easement in the front wouldn't work because, see, we're thinking, AEP's thinking right now is that we're gonna do our own trench and let the gas, the telephone, and the cable work with the developer for their trench because it's holding us up. Because we do the pre-design meeting at our office where we look at the layout for the subdivision, determine where everything's gonna go. And then once we have all the requirements in place, which is the contribution, if there's one for the streetlights or any additional contributions for facilities are paid, and a separate instrument easement contract is signed prior to the plat going final, we're always gonna get a separate instrument easement contract to cover our facilities, even though there's gonna be a UE there. But in the front, we need a minimum of 10 feet, because if we do go to our own trench, where AEP does the trench, for our facilities, and we get in and out, it's gonna be a lot faster for the developers, and they'll have to coordinate with the other utilities, because see, we're struggling with that coordination. Because the other utilities.
A comment on your 10 feet. In other words, we had, at least on my proposal, is to get to 10 feet, so you still have your 10-foot easement, and when it becomes a rear-loaded deal, I envision that the utilities will be on that alley. In other words, what the comp plan was trying to promote was, getting the houses closer to the street, the old type neighborhoods, and having cars come in from the back. So even though there may be the utilities on the back, they're really right at, in other words, whatever your requirements are would be the same, but it's because there's a street in the back.
You need to be careful with alleys, because the homeowners will not maintain the alley.
No, and I've been there.
And I've seen that in other cities.
Well, that's a
where-
That on some high-end subdivisions,
Yeah.
I've seen them work, but the numbers don't work. And here we are, our number one problem is affordability.
Yeah.
We've already priced at least 70% of the right out of it. I love the front loaded. We're probably up to a few hundred lots already, and another couple hundred on the agenda. And the thing I love about it is zero capital contribution. For now.
What's the radius that y'all need to be working under?
For now.
Because I know you can get into the 5-foot easement on the side, but to actually work on the on the deal?
Normally, when there's a side lot easement for like a street light circuit, it's noted on the easement contract. And we can get into the backyards as long as there's no obstructions in that 5-foot side lot easement, like an air conditioning unit or clean outs or anything, because we have these little mini derricks that we can take into the back to allow us to move the transformers. If not, we're having to hire a crane to go over the house. And we've done that many times.
Let me ask you a question.
I mean, that's existing.
The last plat, we submitted, the rest that brought up the point, that you were asking for, where we set all the pedestals, that we take it back, to the building setback line, I think it was. Or did you ask for 10 feet in the front, whatever you were asking?
Well, right now, if you look at,
Probably in that 10 foot.
if you look at the ordinance, the first piece of equipment in the ordinance right now for front lot construction is the AP equipment. And then you have AT&T and Time Warner behind us. If we can do our own easement, that'll work. I mean, our own trench, that will work. And that's where we want to go, because we don't want to wait on AT&T and Time Warner to come out with their stuff.
That's why you'll do your own trench and cover it and
Yes.
everything.
And compact it, do everything the way it's supposed to be, yes.
Is there anything you can do with those big
What do you do with the ditch?
I was looking at the Monaco subdivision, and I see all those big transformers in front, which is, I like the idea of the pin in front, but is there anything you can do instead of using those big transformers?
That has the easement.
We're using low-profile transformers in most cases, right, John? But they're just a little shorter
If
than
we were in my new
some of the
conference
ones
room,
that you see in the
you
back.
just shoot it.
But, you can do shrubbery around it, landscaping.
My new
We'll
His
go
new
with
conference.
that.
I was gonna say, the only thing that we do require in front, because we have to operate that equipment when we open the door to get inside, we require a 10-foot clearance on one side, so to answer your question, we require 3 feet on each side of it, but then on the front side, which is the side that opens, we require, because we have to hot stick that. Because you can have an explosion there, and you got to have the clearance away for the worker, right? So we require 10 feet in front of that unit,
Can bring it up on.
just for working,
And how about situated
Google Drive or-
and existing lots in the rear? You all set them this way so you can go.
We'll turn parallel, say, towards the front, or towards the open side, so we can work, because on one side you may have a fence.
Okay.
And so if your unit's facing this way, you can open the door, this way, and work from here, or vice versa from this side. But, with the fence being on this side, you can't, of course, you can't, we require 3 feet on that side, so. But you do require on the open side of the transformer, 10 feet, because of the hot stick.
Currently, the ones that are in the backyard, it's usually parallel to a fence.
Right, facing, let's say, a larger opening area,
So a reduction in the rear yard setback wouldn't really hurt you guys very much, I guess.
For existing
Nobody's
stuff,
encroaching.
for existing stuff,
516.
if you reduce it
No,
to
956,
5 feet, they're gonna be encroaching in my easement, because I want to have that separate instrument.
Well, I think there'll be a contingency in there that, just like any other easement, you can't.
Mr. Chair, can I make a
they'll
suggestion?
put a wall in front of that opening, and if it's 6 foot, and it only like maybe 3 or 4 feet, so we can't, there's no way we can even operate, so we have to shut down, we have to take an outage,
I wanted to make a suggestion, I guess just, Mr. Chairman, if I can. What I've kind of just, and I'm glad kind of everybody spoke their mind on the different perspectives. I think the point that has the most difference is on the front. I think the only exercise, if possible, with all the heads, if we're able to develop pretty much, I don't know if to call it a cross-section, where in theory, we have the utilities, in theory, we have the trees, because that's one component that I'm fearing. Usually the trees go on opposite ends, and if we bring one point, that they take off one tree. But something that, it's the easements, the tree, the building also, and where it works on different angles, and see what standard we can develop for the front setback, that, you know what, this is what we can do with carports or the addition or with easements, and kind of have that perspective that all our, you could say, opinions are kind of like, you know what, we're all meeting in the middle. And so, I don't know, we want to do this exercise right now and just try to see.
I'd like to see.
And then to literally like draw it out.
There's a bid, if we can bring that. So, but I didn't really have to have, what were
Like in Mueller.
private utilities?
Yeah. The only thing that I receive
right
over 10
away
feet.
or
Like,
easement
let's
at
say
6
he needs
feet,
10
and
feet,
we're
then we're
moving
talking
to
the edge
10
of the
feet
roof,
now.
not the edge of the
Yeah.
building.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, we just did that voluntarily.
So it would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
20
Okay.
feet. Well, we'd be 10
And it's
foot
part of
from
the
transformer
ordinance.
no matter what.
Okay.
If you look at
Okay.
the ordinance was
Yeah, that's in the
amended back
right of
in
way.
2011.
He just wants to take the entire right of way.
There was something about the last plat that we did or submitted where, you know, where the pedestals lined up, we gave you a 5-foot side easement
Yeah.
to the building.
They're gonna put one up.
We're gonna buy you a
Okay.
Let's just take it to one conversation, because I know it's being recorded, and then I want to capture everything, what everybody's saying. So,
I guess, yeah, pretty much have
there was a couple, and I couldn't do the minutes a lot, I was having a hard time. So, just wanted to bring that up again, to let's try to have a little more control of what.
And we're gonna get him a hammer.
Maybe we could
I can go home.
front yard setback, that seems to be the most controversial. I think the rear yard setback, I think everybody.
I think everybody's flexible, as long as
Okay.
the easements and accessibility perspective,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a building permit issue. In other words, let's give the families an opportunity to use the most of their property.
No,
And then
everybody's
they
agreed.
apply for a
Yeah,
permit.
even
and then
staff-
you say,
even
yes,
staff
you can,
says-
so long as
Yeah.
you're here, so long as you're there.
So I think the front lot is the next, is the
It's
biggest
it's
one
really
that's
the
gonna
sensitive
take the
one.
time to talk about.
The separation, if you're gonna have, and
Would
I
it,
get-
it'd be nice to identify which zones we're talking about also. Which zones?
currently we're talking all our
Residential.
zones.
The
Only the R
residential.
zone, so no residential uses in the B1, B3, because those,
Yeah,
you can have houses in B1 and B3.
That's a good point.
So,
That's what I wanted to-
maybe limited to use,
So,
you mean.
well, that's what I'm saying, which zones are we talking about?
I think for me, just, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to put words on the
Well,
councilman's, he pretty much mentioned residential.
I think
And
residential,
so-
because even on the zones when we're in the Board of Adjustments, a lot of times folks would say, hey, but I have a house, I don't have a commercial deal, so what? I said, yeah, but somebody could just knock that house down tomorrow and build something else on the
Yeah.
commercial use.
And
So I
Mr.
think,
Chairman, I think with those, I've noticed that a lot of those scenarios that are on the Bs,
Yeah.
they go a lot to the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah.
So I think if we find out the rules for the residential, when they go to the Board of Adjustment,
they can kind
they
of
could
take
kind
from
of
there.
take
Yeah.
from there like that, we don't have to micromanage the Bs
Each.
on the
That's
residential.
a good idea, just stick to the residential part.
We probably wouldn't, just so you know, support-wise, I mean, not that it really makes a whole lot of difference, but probably staff wouldn't support.
Mhm.
Just the threshold for Board of Adjustment is, what we mainly look at is can the lot be reasonably used for its intended use as is? So if the lot can be used for its intended use as is, I mean, there are instances where it can't be. I mean, just a crazy example, but let's say there's a creek in the back that takes up half of the lot.
Sure.
Well, then you would definitely have an issue there that staff would support, a variance to the setbacks. But most of the time, if the setbacks weren't
Mhm.
changed, again, not that it makes a lot of difference, but staff would probably support it.
In addressing these issues with the AEP and Time Warner and all that, are we saying that we're gonna force developers to put these utility easements in the front now? All of them?
No, but they
They're
provide.
saying-
They're not forced,
They're not forced, they're incentivized.
Yeah.
So you typically, when you're incentivized and you're
You do it.
concerned with the affordability of your product, you change.
It's a relatively big incentive, especially.
Yeah, it's a difference between paying $1,200 to $1,500 a home site.
Depending.
Like when I did, Keno subdivision phase 1, I believe the contribution was like about $1,500 for each home site. So if you've got 100 home sites at $1,500, how much is that?
150,000.
150,000.
Yeah,
So-
it's a big
Of
incentive.
course, it had some commercial in there, like they didn't give me incentives for the commercial because they give it to the person that's doing the building. So I had some commercial infrastructure that I had to put in there that I couldn't get any incentive from the residential, but still, it ended up being like $1,200.
This is gonna go roll to the next meeting, and I would really like to get irrigation, but done. But let me ask you one thing. Can we see, in the next meeting, can we see, the chairman said, the only issues on the front of the deal and how AEP would like it laid out. But anyway,
And the 10-foot,
It's in the ordinance.
He's gonna send you.
that would just be the entire right of way, or would it encroach into the,
No, it's adjacent to the right of way and the
Oh,
easement, it's not building setbacks.
an additional 10-foot?
Yeah, it's not in the right, this is, the easement is not in the right of way, because AEP does not install underground primary facilities inside the right of way that are parallel to the right of way. We'll only install primary facilities in an easement parallel to the right of way. We'll cross perpendicularly, but not parallel, because there's too many people digging in the right of way.
I
So
kept
it's a
thinking
hazard.
that the way that we.
I'd like to bring up another point. As far as building is
Let's do it.
concerned, whenever it's a plat, and I know AP does their separate instruments, easements, those are not on the plat. So as far as when the citizens come in to get the permit,
you're right.
I'm almost asked to them to get me a title search on that property and figure out if there is a separate instrument. Because they don't come out in the plat. I don't know if that's something,
Well, we try to follow the easements on the utility easements on the plan.
Yeah,
But a
well,
lot of times, we may have an easement or two that we ask that's outside of the plan. Because see, that's where we get the separate instrument easement, because we've had replats done in the past where the utility easements are adjusted or abolished.
and that's fine. I'm just saying, maybe if we had access, or not access, but knowledge, hey, by the way, there's an AP easement here. We're not gonna have that on the plat.
Yeah, because pretty much, I guess on the process, on the plan review, commercial, residential, what dictates a lot of what can be used or what is existing or underground is really the plat. And so like when we did for example, the stormwater, like we wanted to put like that root drainage to the back, not just on the plat concept, but on the plat itself, because, and it's been useful actually, it just for, as a pat on the back for everybody. You know, now our residential plans examiner gets to see, lot 1 gets drained to the back, we are able to catch it there. And so if there's something on the plat itself for the newer subdivisions, that would help
I just
us.
need to train the builders with A, B, and C.
Yeah, no,
I just had meetings all morning this morning
I've
doing
been
that.
trying to sell Westwood some lots, and I was looking at the plat, after all those years we spent on that, I said, what's that, what are those A's?
And like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, so the builders
But
don't.
the only trouble about
Mhm.
AP is the backlog of work and stuff like that. Most of the times, we already have we've already been to final plat approval. And we execute the easement agreements after final plat. I've seen a minor subdivision of more cookie cutters, but you guys have always, the two easements, you know, especially if we go to a 10-foot standard rather than a 6-foot.
That's a current requirement that's over there in San Isidro, La Cuesta. Go down, go up, or go down, I'm sorry, yeah. You can see where they've got a 10-foot utility easement, and then they've got an additional 10 feet going up to the side, and then all the utilities, all the pedestals and all that stuff are supposed to be maintained within that 10 feet vertical side.
Yes, it's gonna straddle the lot line,
Right.
yeah.
Is it gonna be a green belt?
Well, no, in other words, that's when we're doing front lot development, those are the easements that go with the plat.
All the dry utilities, yeah.
All the dry, and then if you've got utilities, you've got that little additional easement. So along that first 10 feet that crosses along the front of the lot, there's not supposed to be any pedestals, no stuff there. All the pedestals and all that stuff are supposed to be maintained between the two lots.
where?
Between the lots, where you got, yeah, you see that?
Yeah, that part.
Where do the telephone, cable, everybody else go? Because you said.
The right of
They're there in that 10 feet between the
I
lots.
thought that said that he needed to be.
It's all separate, yeah,
Yeah.
10 feet. So if that's the
The
case,
thing is, they can go in that easement because the AP easement is not exclusive.
Okay, so you're saying you can use, it won't be
Yeah.
exclusive?
But by ordinance, the first piece of equipment that you install in the front lot construction easement straddling the two properties is gonna be AP, and then behind us is gonna be the other utilities. And if you look at the development code, it's in there for front lot construction. Is that the front lot, the development code was amended in like 2011 or 2012?
Well, then we came back on, because remember that meeting, they weren't allowing front-loaded lots in R1MH. And we went through these issues, and you were there, and then when we talked about exactly how the pedestals needed to be placed in space, and you know, we new depths and all that type of stuff, so we cleaned all of that up. So let me just understand, so on that one, when so you've got that little side, what is the side easement? Is that 5 feet or?
Yeah, 5 feet on each side.
So, Ben, let me ask you a question, Ben. So on that building that's there, go down a little bit. If that section, well, that's the garage, it's opposite the pedestal, obviously, right? So the garage is always opposite the pedestal.
Yes, it would always
But
have to be
that's-
on the same side of the pedestal, it'd be split now.
Well, it's opposite of the transformer, it could be on the same side of the pedestal.
No, but I mean, the driveway would actually have to be on that spot if the setback was any closer than 20 feet.
Which spot? This
The
spot?
driveway could never be, so theoretically, the driveway.
Because if you
Driveway
if you have a transformer, you're not supposed to have the driveway there. If you have a transformer, but if you have like a regular pedestal and all that stuff, it's not an issue.
And again, the building department needs to know where, I mean, I guess,
So my question,
trying to-
this is the question that I'm making. Is there a problem with AEP if that building, you've got your easement, if that building gets to the 10 feet?
building gets all the way up here.
Yeah, in other words, let's assume that,
That's the same as the rear.
Probably
Yeah.
not, because like I said, we're gonna be at the edge of the right of way in the easement.
exactly, so in other words, that's what I'm saying.
Is this commercial?
No, it's residential.
That's for.
Okay, well, I'm just asking.
So all I'm asking is that we allow that structure.
But what about when it gets next to the vertical part of it?
Oh, no, the vertical, on the ordinance, there's a requirement that if it's on the vertical side and you have a transformer, you can't have a garage there. So on that ordinance part,
You can't have a driveway.
you can't have a driveway.
But what about a house? Because if that's the case, like
Well,
where it says
you've got
the
that,
corner of the house would fit right into that corner if it was a 10-foot setback?
right.
And so you'd be
So-
right at the 10-foot line this way, but you'd also be
Okay,
up.
so then whatever AEP needs as far as the distance requirements, those are communicated either via the plat or via communicated via ordinance, so that when building comes out and reviews a permit, they'll say, oh, okay, yes, you can go all the way up to the 10, but you've got a side foot easement here, so your structure needs to be 5 feet away from here because you're getting close. In other words, it becomes a building permit issue as opposed to,
This side is the front, the bottom.
There have to be some kind of language that standardizes it, that makes sense. If not, it'd be a mess to try to figure, I think, I'm not sure.
That, and what I've seen problems is we'll look at the plat, and if this is if there's a separate instrument easement here, I won't have access to it, right? And.
so are you all putting easements outside of on new subdivisions and that kind of stuff, are you all putting easements outside of the, and let me tell you something, whenever somebody goes for Board of Adjustments, they have to provide all kinds of deed records. So if somebody wants to improve their property, it's a very simple deal, go to, Stewart Title, go to Neil Title, give me all the instruments for this, for this property. If need be, right? If you're concerned with an easement that is not part of the plat, it's a simple.
Well, I don't know if there's a concern. That's my question, that's my point.
Right, well, you can do that.
So I mean, I could standardize and say, from now on, everybody give, but then I'm
Yeah, in other
pushing cost to the.
No, but you're giving the consumer an opportunity to expand his property. So the only thing he needs to do is, instead of submitting, getting denied, going to Board of Adjustments, you say, oh, okay, you're in an existing subdivision, and you want to go to the front 10 feet, okay, go to Neil Title, go to Stewart Title, and get all the easements that are required, or get me a survey of your property. Like, whenever I build on your lot, that I'm building in the eastern, western division, I can be in South Laredo, the first thing that I communicate to my consumer is it's gonna cost anywhere from $700 to $1,000, depending on, we set it out for bids, depending on whether they have a base on that property, to do a survey before we even do anything else. Why? Because there's some houses that are being built on streets right now. So if you just require a survey on an existing property, ahí salen todos los, ¿cómo se llama?
Because now you're asking me to require a survey.
Yeah, if you wanna build it in the 10 feet to the back, and you're concerned with, in other words, if you're concerned, which is a valid concern, if there's a valid.
And just in case, let me tell you one scenario that I saw on a survey, and I inquired with other surveyors about this notation. There was one survey that I saw that pretty much they made a notation, and they would say any separate instruments not not shown, and so they have like a disclaimer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they just show based on what they see, so the owner gets, it's a cheap survey, because it doesn't have the full research. And so like the survey.
You make that and the fact that the property code states that the survey is good for a year.
I don't understand the survey issue. What's the deal with
No,
the
his
survey?
concern, it's not necessarily for,
No.
what the concern is this, that there might be an easement that was granted that was unrecorded. That's why.
No, recorded, but that's a
Okay,
separate.
not platted. That's why years back, they decided that all the fire loops had to go through a replat. Because they were concerned that there were unrecorded, and there was a recorded
Yeah.
easements, but when somebody looked at it, unless you did a replat, you wouldn't
Only
see
gas
it.
transmission lines, they're not recorded typically.
Right, so if you do it's just communication to the surveyor. In other words, if you communicate, the surveyors should identify all easements on their property. So you give the communication to the buyer, this is the type of survey you need.
But I don't understand about the survey part. But regardless, I was thinking, I think it would be.
There are easements that are not on the plat.
No, I understand
Can
that.
I-
I don't know why the issue came up,
Can I make
but I'm thinking
They're
about.
concerned.
comment? One of the reasons I was bringing up about the councilman, the concerns that we usually see, I don't, like from my experience, and I was just asking Andy, like on his period also, that we've never really had an issue of people trying to do additions on the front. Because, I know the big
Because they know the setback is 20 feet.
Sí, por eso, pero where I'm getting at, where I'm getting at.
Ahí lo pescan.
See, where I'm getting at, there's honestly a lot of challenges on the front part. The big issue that we see when it comes to the front is the carport.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's an easy fix that when it comes to the back, you're able to.
What's Miss, the one cuando estaba colchado?
Bloomberg,
Miss Bloom. Mrs. Bloom. Mrs. Bloom has, we enclosed, I don't know if we went through Board of Adjustments or how we ended up doing it, but on her property, we do have a home that's a living room that's closer than 20 feet from the setback. And we went through the whole application process, so yes, it does happen.
Yeah.
But I know it happens, and it's not intentional from the.
And the only reason I'm saying that, because when I see residential, I'm talking a standard home. Usually the one that's on the front, it's the garage, and then it's a bedroom, and then you have your hallway to the inside. So it's really, we're focusing this one item on this one bedroom, that there's a good chance not to get expanded. If there's expansion, that we've seen it from our experience, it's more because either the living room or the master bedroom or an additional room, and that's more on the back part. Like when it comes to the front, we don't see too much demand on.
Because it's
on
not
additional.
allowed.
I think the front. Oh,
I'm sorry. Just on the practical side of getting, I think we know what AEP means.
Yeah.
All on front load, then that's
Yeah,
real
they-
straightforward
they got
and
their
all
10
good.
but they got their 10 feet.
Yeah, no, but on practical, in the subdivisions, while we, 10 feet work well, but because we have single wides and double wides. So the single wides, in our restrictions, we'll let single wides go up to 10 feet
Exactly.
because we do the long skinny driveway. But how in the hell are you gonna fit a double wide around a house at a 10-foot easement? where are you gonna put the driveway?
No, you still have your 20
It could
feet.
be a wide lot, I mean, we
Yeah.
talking about a 70-foot, I mean, we don't build any, but we could
Yeah.
be. But you know what I was gonna say? Maybe on the front lot one, this is just my opinion, I don't think the front lot deal should be a blanket deal. I think it should just be only on new planned subdivision. So like if the setback is on the plat existing, well then maybe that's the only way you consider that 10-foot front setback, but it's on the plat, so that way you can control all these issues. I don't want my neighbor all of a sudden be building an addition in front of his house, encroaching that to me, like for all the existing houses. I think it'd be a mess. Everybody building into 10 feet, but I think the new subdivision, I can see where.
room today?
Yeah, but the other way, I know it seems minor, but a lot of the, and you're just like, man, Victor, you're going way left field, but it's not, because I know the complaint will come, is like when it comes to the placement of the trees. The requirement is 2 trees, and I know if we allow that even that other side to come to the front, that tree's going out. And
So you got 10
yeah,
feet to put the
Beautiful
tree?
subdivisions.
But you have the easement on the other 10 feet.
The easement doesn't
Right.
control where you put trees?
No.
No.
So we can put our trees in
Yeah,
there.
you can put it in the.
So the tree can go over and.
Of course.
Top of the transformer.
I'm gonna plant one.
Yeah, you got 10 feet to plant your, to plant the tree. You got 10 feet all along the front.
Put them outside the easements,
Yeah.
the side lot and the utility.
Oh,
Trying to get the water away from the right of way.
See, if you're bringing mom home, she ain't gonna be climbing the stairs. And if you're building up, you know, the structure's not, in other words, the structure's not gonna be built to be able to build up unless
There's
you
a lot
make
of nice
major.
55-plus deals that they only have 10 foot in the front.
This is what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Troy just showed this to me, it makes sense to me now. But now, we're not talking about on the 10-foot setback on the
Yeah.
old, on existing ones, but if someone comes in and does, you know, lots
A new
that are,
subdivision.
a new subdivision where they've got a driveway and then a front room.
It's not really gonna look like that if you've got 10 there, it's
But,
gonna stick out a little bit more.
But I think we should
Using
consider
the parking
that.
spaces is what.
And that would be a good, Victor, that would be a good compromise.
The
Don't
parking spaces.
existing ones, but if they're designed for this type of home, like if Westland tells me we want 100 lots built for this type of home, you know, I don't know what you would call that home.
Yeah, and the only thing that I foresee is just, like, I foresee it better for the new ones, but it's, the
So
way
normally
I say
what
it
you
because of
have here
enforcement, it's gonna be hard for us to enforce,
The right
you know, you versus all this, porque ellos sí,
Because whatever setbacks on the plat. So you have a plat setback.
I just want to make a comment, because I've been hearing different things between you and Old and what they were asked to do by councilmen. I think one of the things that the councilman might have, because I hear a lot from the Board of Adjustments, is people coming in and wanting to put a carport up to the front. I think the idea of building, with the comprehensive plan to get as much as you can up in front is awesome. If you can work with the utilities and coordination up front, I think that's where it's gonna end up, and I hope it does, because that would be great. But I think one of the biggest issues that the councilman might have been hearing, because he's from District 1, I think, right, or 2?
Yeah, too.
Is the issue where it comes to us, to the Board of Adjustments, where we have dozens and dozens of people with building carports up in the front. I think that's the issue that he would want to see. I don't think there's an issue with this part of it.
Yeah, no, I talked to Vidal today, and he wants maximum use. I talked to George Algill, months back, and he says, we should have zero. He said, we should have zero.
And I think that would be okay, but if it's already established where you got water and everything up front, I think it limits you to what you can do, based off where those trees are at.
Yeah, all I'm saying is this.
I guess, I'm just trying
That's what I'm
to
saying.
imply, just
You
to
got-
avoid thinking of
Yeah.
You gotta
possible
have bedrooms
future
to
or
the front,
anything, it's
still
just
maintaining your 20 feet,
respect the front.
you know,
not to
20
make it
feet
too
distance
complicated.
plus the 9.5 and the 18 feet wide.
For existing.
I think Mr. Rosa wants to say.
Yeah, you're gonna get some opposition to front lot construction from some of the higher end builders. The ones that build up, but they're probably a lot fewer, you know, you got, you know, a good representation of the bulk of the affordable house that can be built here with them here. Because that's what they're looking at, to try to build an affordable house for somebody starting out. So front lot construction, by minimizing any cost a developer has to pay towards the electrical infrastructure is gonna benefit them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also gonna help him because basically he'll have enough room in the back to build a pool if you don't have a rear lot easement.
Exactly.
So everybody.
People out in the backyard.
The other thing we're gonna have to the other thing we're gonna have to do is it gives people an opportunity to redevelop. And when somebody adds an addition to their house,
But they sure as hell
typically,
don't.
you know, people start, you know, adding additions to theirs. Somebody cleans up their yard, you know, it brings up the neighborhood. You have an existing neighborhood that has had no construction.
I think if we're
you
looking
know,
at front lot, rear lot, utility setbacks, I think everybody's on the same page that everyone's in agreement on the rear lot. I mean, staff, everybody concurs that we should make that one less than what it is. I don't know if the less is gonna be, you know, whatever that is, but it definitely is gonna be less. I think the front lot, I think maybe get everybody a chance to put in their comments and then like right before, like 10 minutes before we have to adjourn, maybe we can define a group, something that doesn't make quorum, to kind of come up with different scenarios for front lot so we can bring it back with an actual.
So I can put my pool.
Mr. Chairman, I can ask you a question.
Yeah.
If we're gonna allow carports to the 10-foot deal, which everyone wants, what's the difference between a carport and another bedroom?
You're gonna have issues, you're gonna have.
That goes their driveway.
Very simple, you're gonna have issues on, you're gonna have issues on new subdivisions with trying to push the carport all the way to the front, like you all were suggesting, because we have a 10-foot utility easement now. So, in other words, on new subdivisions that are front-loaded, you're still gonna have to maintain your structure 10 feet back, which is the existing ordinance today. So in new subdivisions that we're building that have front-loaded utilities, you can't get it any further than 10 feet. But on existing subdivisions, if you give power to the people to be able to utilize their lot, they're gonna come for their applications and you're gonna be able to help them so that they don't make a mistake. Today, they're doing it in the shadows. They do stuff on the weekends. El fin de semana no lo
In the
aventamos.
back, you're talking about in the back.
And they don't do it in the front porque los pescan.
But we've established that we're all in agreement for the back.
Yeah, well,
I think the only thing we have to focus on is the front. Everybody
By new
does-
construction, new
Yeah, no
development.
construction.
I would like
No,
to
existing.
make some comments too, you know. It was also Councilwoman Nelly who was proposing, because of the land costs that are so high nowadays,
Of course.
and because it's costing developers a lot of money to develop a lot, you know, a subdivision, that we need to give the homeowner the ability to be able to utilize his property to the maximum, you know. And I think that if you entice the developer, if it's enticing for him, I don't think he's gonna have any objections to the easement being in the front.
No, we're doing it.
I mean, making it mandatory.
That's it, right here. This is what you're seeing in all the affordable.
Go away, so.
We're not gonna go away. We have to give incentives on this, and we've been giving very lot incentives, but here pretty soon, probably next year or two, we're gonna reduce the incentive that we give for the rear lot and significantly increase the front lot to be able to cover the trench. Think about it, if you don't have to dig a 5-foot trench.
What's your point?
Yeah, I wasn't finished. So if we're going to allow, and I'm glad these guys are here, because if we're going to allow that the electrical easement be in the back, you normally take 6 feet from each lot, you know, right? You have 12 feet to put your cables in. Why do you put them at the 6-foot edge of one of the property owners? You know what I'm talking about? There's 2 lots like this, right?
Yeah.
They're like this. Side by side. And you took 6 from this guy and 6 from this other guy, right?
No, like.
But you end up putting a cable on the 6-foot line of this guy.
Does it 10 feet?
So, National Electrical Code tells you have to stay 5 feet away from that underground cable. So he loses a hell of a lot of the backyard. This guy doesn't lose anything.
For swimming pool purposes.
Why can it be, you guys stay right in the center?
Because the fence goes in the center.
There is a fence line, yeah.
Because the fence goes in the center.
And we typically try to go from the property line, we try to typically go 3-4 feet. We don't go all the way to the edge. We try- It depends on the trench. But It does, it will.
You also have your power lines that are overhead.
And then you
Yes,
have,
sir.
You have your
yeah,
distribution lines and you have power lines.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, your distribution lines, you need to be 10 feet away, minimum,
Right, right.
from the center
Mhm.
pole.
Right.
Go ahead and have a distance of not being able to use the pole, aluminum poles that the pool contractors use.
Right.
And we have to take a look at that too.
See, we're not installing overhead power lines on back-to-back rear lot easements anymore.
Yeah.
We stopped that practice. But that's a practice that we've done for years in the past, and you have that scenario pretty much everywhere, and when it's a problem, when you come in with an overhead power line on a 5-foot side lot easement, and you build a 2-story house, then we got a big problem.
Right.
And it happens.
since I had the floor a little while ago, I just want to finish one more thing, We also have HOA setbacks. I was surprised. I applied for a permit for a swimming pool and he approved it. He said, okay. But I took it to the homeowners association and said, no, you can't do that.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So this customer can't have a swimming pool because of the HOA. So
You can't do anything about that.
you can't do anything about
Yeah,
that.
that's a subdivision ordinance alone.
No, no.
Well, then the homeowner should be notified of all these restrictions because most of them don't know. I don't know, you don't know how many families, how many children I live crying when I tell them you cannot have a swimming pool.
You are, you're like
Chairman,
range, huh?
One thing I just want to make sure, because let's say ahorita we have a difference on the front part. The one exercise at least I want to make sure somebody can do, and it'll probably be us, the city, is I just want to make sure we have the driveway. That's going to be the 20 feet, abuelitas, because you have to park your car inside the property. When it comes for that 10-foot, just the exercise of really making sure that 10-foot doesn't obstruct the view, from seeing, like within your car. Yeah, and so that's just the one exercise.
But anyway, because if you basically,
I said, like,
Yeah.
because I'm here,
As you're backing up.
yeah, and
Use your bumper.
No, the other thing,
Leave the
I think this one we adjusted.
For the other.
Go down?
because if they vote,
No, the other way, go up. So we need a front setback on corners. In other words, we need to have a new line that if you're in an existing, if you have a corner lot, that the setbacks are different on the front on corner lots.
yeah, it shouldn't just be for corner lots.
no, I'm talking like even
Even in between.
like I understand your
As
point,
you're
but
backing
I
up.
totally agree on that perspective. But I'm just talking from lot to lot, I have my name, but I'm focusing on my lot because really the structure that's gonna block my first 10 feet is gonna be that. I just wanna make sure if we back up, that doesn't obstruct, from seeing like,
I think that's
once you're in
You
the
got
sidewalk.
20 feet, because you've got,
10 feet now.
no, you've got 10, plus you've got the city's 9.5-foot right of way.
Sí, pero the point being, the people not to be passing the sidewalk where you can't see.
And now you're pushing the parking further out into the right of way, which is what, as you're backing up.
I'm just trying to do that. I'm not saying that it's
That we do like the
No,
subdivision.
no, I'm
Yeah,
proposing
yeah.
20 feet.
Do that
In
whole
other words, you
field,
still have
backing
to
up,
keep
so
your
it's not
one off.
enclosed.
But it was, but you're proposing 20 when it was 30.
Right? So you're backing up.
So you're
Yeah,
reducing
that's all I'm
10 feet
saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
of visibility.
That makes sense.
Because
No, let's say it's
I'm
say,
changing
hey,
the 20 feet.
then I'll be
for
even more
parking.
supportive.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not suggesting,
He's not parking over here.
I'm not suggesting that we have the building go up to 10 feet. You've got to maintain your, like you do on corners, on side corners, that you say,
Where?
I have a lot and I have to have a 20
I make a
feet
motion
from my
that
garage.
we move on this one and finish up when we have a special, footprint to look at in the next meeting.
I just want to make one last comment just for the record. The one thing that is happening though is, let's say all these, and I'm talking like way in the future, everybody does their additions and such. What could happen, I'm not saying that it will happen, what could happen is you're adding more bedrooms to a residential.
Right.
So in essence, you're adding more density. The one thing just for us to be cautious of, one, regardless if it's carport or enclosed, we're gonna be increasing runoff, that's one. Two, we're gonna be increasing demand on water and sewer also. And I'm talking in the bigger scope in the years.
I think as far as the runoff goes, this is the same thing as R1B. Whenever we pass that R1B, everybody said, everybody thought that every lot in town was gonna be a 35-foot lot. It's not the case. There's only a few, and Chuy's right in half, but he's done some, and Danny hasn't. Everybody's done a little bit. But there's only been like 150 lots probably on the market. And it's the same thing there. Not everybody's gonna, I'm not gonna add any more to my backyard.
Yeah.
But right now you can already do that, because you can already put a swimming pool in. You can already do an accessory dwelling. You can already use it. You just,
A lot of people, I mean, you can.
Not attached.
A lot of people, you can go into a Fiesta subdivision, if you do an aerial, they don't want any grass in the back, and they put 100% concrete in their backyard.
You have
So
2.5
that's,
feet.
the impervious cover
Yeah.
is no different whether they put flat work on their backyard
Yeah.
or whether they put a structure.
this is.
Runoff should not be an issue in the area where we only maintain anyway.
And when it comes for the water and the sewer, it's like one of the, some locations, I'm not saying that there's well, actually there is issues. Like on the eastern division, there's a lot of R3s. And so currently a lot of them are like in R1, just house, it's just one single family. And so what's happening, the trend with that area, especially with the NEZ and everything, people are making multifamily, which is good.
Yeah.
But what the city or the existing infrastructure that's in those areas, they were not really prepared for that, higher density. So there's issues with the city. Fortunately, there's not like major issues, but they do see the high, like I guess that plant sees more sewage.
Sure.
And so with time, and that's why I'm trying to get that perspective. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be too Debbie Downer about it, but in essence, we are going to be in the future. We won't see it now. It's going to happen 20 years from now. That if they fully develop, we're going to see a higher density of rates. I see what you mean when it comes to the runoff, but yeah.
And we've seen that issue already on commercial lots. We're now on commercial lots. Let me just throw out Jackman. They were all supposed to be commercial offices and shops. And then you're allowed to put in commercial multifamily.
Yeah.
Well, the housing crisis came, and you know what? Nobody can afford houses. Let's build apartments. And man, apartments blew up. And guess what? There's not enough sewer. There's not enough water for these apartments. And so now they're stuck like, well, I got a lot. Why are you keeping? And it's a major issue that they're having to go fight through utilities, because they can't even, I mean, I can think of one right next to the creek on Jackman where they're trying to do some apartments, but they don't have and that's a lift station right there. And they literally have to make another force main to the plant up over there north of the, right there on Shiloh.
And granted,
And so from Jackman, they literally have to go all the way over there just to accommodate certain lots there on Jackman. That's why it haven't even been being built. And as a matter of fact, there's a construction there. So that's just an example of how decisions that are made now can make the street's already there, the sewer's already there, the water's already there. Now you're having to beef up all that. And at what cost? Because the developer's gone. Now the city's inherited it. So now how do we, that's one of the things that Victor is pointing out, that how does this impact?
Because there's a bigger picture.
Well, how does that impact?
Now, we can
you have a $5 million building that's gonna generate X number of thousands of dollars annually for tax basis, and you just justify the expense.
But even though you have a master plan,
Maintaining the inadequate infrastructure.
All I'm saying is that, you're putting a $5 million structure, that's bringing tax revenues to the city that weren't there. Surely you can take 3 or 4 years of that tax base, or 5 years of that tax base, and put it on a force main, or put it on something.
No, it's true. Mr. Wires, did you want to bring your motion
Yeah, I would
back
make a
up?
motion that we table this item for time certain to the next meeting.
Let's not table it. Let's at least
I
make some recommendations.
want to get these,
Everybody's in agreement that there's no problem in the back, so let's get, we've got 15 minutes, let's at least get that, unless nobody has.
well, we promised when they passed the paving ordinance, we promised them that city council meeting, we would have a resolution. They got Victor up to the stand and said, you bring back in the next 30 days, and we've been screwing with the irrigation ordinance for 6 months. and this is gonna go on and on today, and we're not gonna resolve anything. While we can have a quick.
I didn't know that there was issues on the.
You were there at the city council meeting with the, and and we promised them, when they took French drains out of the deal, that we would, within 30 days, bring them back a resolution to the irrigation.
So is there a second
Well,
from everybody?
I'd like to, if it's okay, make a modification to this motion. Or there's a second discussion?
Who's second? Who's second? I'm sorry.
Could we have a special, in addition to
Nobody
this? No, it was second by Cesar.
No, he asked what the motion was.
Oh,
The motion is that we table this item and bring it back at time certain in the next meeting. And that's one motion, and the second one that we open up the irrigation and put it to bed in a vote. And actually be able to, we can actually bring this up to the city council.
second. Okay.
Discussion?
Would you entertain that we have a special meeting in 2 weeks?
Yeah, if we can get a quorum.
I think either we have a special meeting in 2 weeks, or if we don't
Yeah,
get a quorum,
yeah.
we meet anyway, whoever shows up, and to address all the
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
and come back with
So
something.
amend it to 2 weeks from now,
Yeah, so we
which
don't
is
mess with
what's 2 weeks from now?
It'd be the
And so,
18th or the
well,
17th.
for clarification, are we coming back with the front and rear, or just rear setbacks? Because I know you said that we're all in a consensus with the rear setbacks. Are we gonna do
Yes.
both? Or are we gonna do
Well,
both existing
we're gonna-
or new development?
We're gonna
All of the
focus
above.
on residential. Obviously, I couldn't find what he posted, but at the last meeting, he specifically wanted the status of the residential setbacks. So we're gonna focus on setbacks
Residential.
for residential.
And I think some of the AEP issues and some of the other issues, we need to kind of solve graphically, so that people can look at site distance and everything else. If we intend to pass anything that's gonna go on to P and Z and then go on to city council
So
ultimately.
point of order, there was a motion and a second, was there a vote?
No, I
Modification.
asked for him to modify his motion, he said yes. So the modified motion is that we're gonna bring up the irrigation, but we're gonna have a special meeting on the, what date?
17th.
On the 17th,
In 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the motion.
Is there a vote?
Is there a second?
First, can we
Well,
confirm?
Second.
On the
Oh,
17th,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, on the 17th, can a show of hands, who's gonna be able to attend the meeting? I know I'll be here, we need to make sure we have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, Danny?
Yeah, I can be here. I leave on the 18th.
Do you only need us?
I think we know what you need.
Okay.
Ben, I think it's real clear.
It's a building permit issue. In other words, whatever requirements AEP needs, as far as setbacks, when there's power poles, when there's rear lot easements, I think if you can send us a communication of what you need as far as accessibility, when there is a power pole in the backyard and that kind of stuff, so that we can incorporate that and it becomes a building permit issue. When somebody goes and applies for the permit, okay, well, it's there, and if there's, I'm gonna stay shut, so there's a.
Is there a second?
There was
a second, Danny second.
Second by Cesar.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman.
It's okay, so opening up,
If I could bring something up, Ben and Joe, when you all find the encroachments, when you all go do your repairs on a shutdown and everything, power lines that are shut down and you see something, it is easy for us to receive it on a 311. Just call in the 311, you don't have to, if it's an emergency, of course, call our bosses and everything.
I'm gonna laugh because
It's easier.
Because then you cite him, and then what happened to my guy with the
We'll go to the
garage?
backyard until you all.
Mr. Pizza, whatever it was, my guy with the garage.
So I guess we're bringing
We'll
back,
cite him again.
we're bringing back item number 5.
The one in.
yes, we had skipped it, now we need to read it and open it up.
You cited him twice already?
So,
Is there a motion to open up item number 5?
no, it was already
Yeah,
motion.
okay, it's already motion.
So are we done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Item 6 is closed. Thank you.
I got you, okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to extend the meeting.
I make a motion that we have already started the irrigation, no, I can't make a motion. But I think we've already put the irrigation deal to bed. I don't see how we discuss anything further other than.
Thank you.
just getting the minutes to you and I can bring them on the 17th.
Yeah, and I,
See if you save the changes and then-
No, I'm not done with the minutes, I haven't even typed them out.
No, the document that I have,
the
the
changes to the
document,
actual document.
see if you gave me the changes or not. Is there a-
I think he's saying the changes that we were making as we were discussing it.
Your NJ
Yeah, in there,
or NI?
irrigation.
From my memory, I think we had it down to just. We even
Were they-
had
where
the
did you say
wording
them? Were
that
they
said-
on your drive or-
On that,
Proposer, okay, go in the
in the
proposed
right
version
of way or
stuff.
whatever, there's simply gonna be no,
Go-
Not at the bottom.
Yeah, go
Right in
down,
that corner.
yeah, go down. Because we had talked about, well, there were some changes over to the right there. Did we agree on the certification of the irrigation contractor?
You guys made a motion on that, but I have to figure out who made the motion and put it down, but yes, this is,
Okay. Did we talk about the?
it's proposed, I mean, it still needs to go to,
Okay, I understand. We also talked about the issue of vegetation. Okay, what's that there?
not compliance.
Okay.
Uh,
There's a duplication, just elimination of duplication. There was an issue that we discussed, okay, certification.
At certification, see, that's how we,
Go down, annually.
Yeah, but I think that's the one you,
What's that minimum? Oh, the scale.
you corrected some grammar in it,
Yeah, in other words,
but it's not within the
yeah,
final.
here it is.
Okay,
It's the, all initially, review,
yeah, it's the one, okay.
yeah, it is, right?
It is, okay, so those are the things, okay, well, let's read it. Let's go back so everybody refreshes their memory.
where do we get to, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so where do you want me to start?
Go down.
To the first one?
Yeah, but the most important one, or the two important things was the certification, and then the issue of what we're gonna allow as far
We
as,
have to add a definition, remember?
definition of irrigation.
The certification by irrigation contractor, remember?
That's the definition.
Yeah,
Yeah, we added that definition because it wasn't on the ordinance.
okay, so, okay, so.
So let's start with that, I guess.
Okay, do you wanna reread it? Tony?
Sure. Certification by irrigation contractor. A document prepared by the irrigation contractor and submitted to the city of Laredo at the request of the final inspection, certifying that the irrigation system was installed, tested, and conforms to the irrigation design submitted with the irrigation permit application, and that the system complies in all aspects with the city of Laredo Chapter 25 plumbing requirements. So that was like, we're trying to now say that the irrigators need to
Yeah.
kind of give us a, hey, I've done it correctly,
Exactly.
so that we can ensure that there's no water going into the right of way, right? That's what they call it that.
Is this the document that we were?
Yeah, we were changing, yeah, we were
Did you just
changing.
change it there in that location, or was this?
I changed it here, but
Yeah.
in the same,
Yeah, in that one, it said, it was a document prepared by the irrigation, I used to say a document prepared by the city that the irrigator signs and
What I'm
then.
saying, is this the actual document that we changed
That's what-
during
that's
the
what I'm-
meeting and
Yeah, because it's
saved?
dated July 30th.
So we saved it on this drive.
I asked them to give me the document.
Oh,
Okay.
so it's the one that we changed here.
it's the one I emailed you, right?
Oh, yeah, you emailed it to me and I guess I saved it, okay.
Didn't we vote on all the changes, don't you remember?
Yeah.
As we do.
Yes, but I haven't provided you the
Yeah,
minutes
but
to
I'm
do
just saying,
that.
this is the actual.
This is what I'm-
document.
That's what I thought
We
we
voted on it.
resolved all this before.
Yes, but I didn't have the video because it was.
Oh, we can redo it right
Let's
now.
go, let's go.
Where's the important one?
The important one's the
keeping them.
certification, and then the other important one, okay, there's another one, and the certification,
The applicant shall furnish inspector with a copy of the required maintenance checklist, including all items listed on the 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 344.63. That's the clean
yeah,
drinking water
whatever, it
package.
has all the requirements. So that's like.
Meaning a backflow. That's really what it
Okay.
gets to, that's where it's referencing.
Okay, then the other stuff was annually, I don't think we voted on that or not, go back up. All irrigation contractors gonna,
Conducting.
Shall review irrigation.
To obtain irrigation permit.
so how are you,
Yeah,
We'll
that's,
just vote on this
every
whole
year
thing
they-
right now.
before they get a
The
permit,
whole
we
document,
check
go ahead.
if they're current as a.
so do we do it as of January
Mr. Chair,
first?
the
No,
thing is,
it's a 12-month.
The meeting was?
12 months.
I would feel to a certain degree more comfortable if Roland actually went back to the video and provided the actual notes and footages and information on the
The video-
final
the video's
document,
lost.
because
Yeah.
we talked a lot. And I just I don't wanna miss anything and just kind of approve this,
Yeah.
to approve it without seeing the final copy.
And that's why I wanted, that's why I
But
prefaced
he
it
says
this
the
meeting
the
that
meeting was,
it never recorded.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I need your input.
okay.
That's what I'm saying, let's just go real quick, it's
Yeah.
not too many, you're doing it annually now, right?
We're doing it annually.
So that one makes sense, okay, this one. All irrigation plants used for construction must be drawn to a scale, minimum 1/8 equals 1 foot. In other words, because it says scale, like when you do, your plans for,
Yeah.
development is 1 to 100 or 1 to 200.
Makes sense.
So everybody's in favor of that?
Yes.
One of the things that I wanna note here is that drawing the actual right of way or property line and showing if the irrigation system is in the right of way. Because a lot of times they come in with hand drawings of irrigation plants and we're having is it in the right of way? Is it not in the right of way? So if they're not drawing the right, I don't think it does state that as, I mean, I can always require it, but
Yeah, that's,
It would be-
it's a policy deal.
like, to make sure that, hey,
It's a policy.
I want them to know, you're gonna put it in the right of way, put your drip irrigation system. You know, if it's existing and you're just coming in for an irrigation meter, maybe put the heads that are not.
Well, I think the other
Oh, that-
part's gonna resolve that
Yeah,
issue.
Is your recording
Right,
stop
right.
at 7?
Yeah.
If anything is going to be modified, it has to be bring up to code. Anything that's gonna be worked on the right of way over in
Yeah.
the front, and they already have the heads existing, it has to be brought up to code to that drip irrigation.
I think we have that in that, I think we have that in that
Modifications in
document.
there.
Here's where you guys added something. No irrigation system or landscaping shall be installed within 48 inches from back of curb. Remember, black is already,
That's the whole
Yeah.
meat of this whole thing.
Correct.
Right there.
right,
And then you struck out whatever I had written there, or the committee
Yeah.
struck out the,
Yeah, that's the whole meat.
okay, so let's read it
Just the whole
one, I
message.
know that, let's just
No,
read it.
okay, good. I'll
For
calm
the
down.
sake, for the sake of, Mr. Chairman, can we extend the meeting?
5 minutes.
Right.
Stops recording at 7 then.
Does it stop recording at 7?
no, I don't think so. I
Not yet,
think I need to
okay.
stop it. It's still recording.
No, well, in other words, I make a motion that we extend the meeting for at least another 15 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Reluctantly.
Well, all emission devices located within 20 feet of the public street shall conform to the United States Environmental Protection Agency.
If I can make a quick comment, when we were actually doing this,
Yes.
we were in a much better position to make a decision on this stuff than today. So I vote whatever it is that we changed, or I can't vote, but I would entertain a motion that whatever it is that we changed at
Yeah.
that time, that we have no other choice
Yeah.
but to trust it, because if we try to second guess everything
Yeah, well,
now,
I'm gonna tell you
We're
that
in a
that
much
one
worse
was, that
position.
was modified. Because they didn't want.
So this is not, you don't think this is the one?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not because.
Well, we did the census, right?
Don't move it, move it back down.
No, well, I wanna be
Right,
sure.
is there a way to
That-
timestamp the?
The reason why this is not the one is
Yeah.
because
Edward.
Santos, Raúl Santos, didn't like,
The census.
didn't like that,
They have to agree with the census.
he didn't like that water sense. Why do you keep moving it?
I'm trying to find, okay.
This is where, the emission devices,
I can listen and
Yeah.
hear you what you're
I
saying.
know, but we're concentrating on that one section, on the section number 5. There was a lot of discussion on section number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent a whole time.
So then if this is not it, then why are we looking at this?
Yeah, there's a different document that you must have on your hard drive.
So you're saying that you sent to them,
Because that
Rolly?
one was 7:30 and our meeting was on 8:1.
Oh, very good.
So it had to have been like
Dang.
8:1. Look, there's an 8:1, oh, never mind.
The devil's in the details.
8:1, that's land development code book.
Let me look at mine.
Don't look at mine.
Let me
Let
look
me
at
see if I
mine.
have an email from Roland. I know I asked you for it, but,
That one's gonna stick.
And I know I sent it to
The
you.
devil's in the details.
oh, you've never heard that before?
I liked it though. It's
I was
true.
gonna say, I'm
Never
just
heard of
opposite,
it?
screw the devil.
What's that?
Screw the devil.
You're on tape.
But Whitworth always used to tell, like you said, in my phone. I said, we'll take care of the details later.
Still 7:30, yes?
Water conservation.
Yeah, it didn't look right.
We had it perfect.
Perfect.
That one,
We
that
spent a
one
lot of
paragraph.
time on it. The
On one
landscapers were
paragraph.
here and we all chimed
But I
in on
didn't,
it. Roland, but
what date was it?
do you have a recording
Hold on,
at
hold
least of that day?
That's my point. I don't. Hold on. Is it
Oh,
here?
do you have your emails or no?
There's a 9/9,
Recording?
16 there. You probably saw it by
Video?
date modified and you can figure it real fast, yeah. That's something.
You didn't send it?
You can do a fancy search, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, just on the search.
Just go to search and
Yeah.
put
Is
the,
it here?
Yeah, you just go to the biggest directory and put the search and it'll go to the whole.
Since we don't know.
Go- This is,
no,
Yeah, TRB there.
go back to the mini, USB mini.
No, in my,
No, the-
no, in my
the big
meeting,
one.
no.
No.
That one,
There.
yeah. And on the search,
Right
There.
can you put the date?
chapter 25, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, what did I label the document as?
I don't know what you labeled it, but it's chapter 25 of the plumbing code.
That was 7:30 also. That's the only one on there.
Right, yeah.
Dang.
Hold on, it's searching. No.
Don't put chapter, did I name it chapter 25? Look at the document.
Just do irrigation, do irrigation.
Yeah, irrigation. Man, we spent a lot of time on that darn thing. It was a date. that we-
Chapter 21, irrigation, chapter 25.
Yeah, but then
It's the
now,
same one.
Okay, but that's what you, what?
No,
you
no,
don't have
no,
any-
go back to USB.
Oh, yeah, no, that's in Chewy's.
I know, that's what he named it, he was asking.
oh, okay, certificate, what
I'm
was it
sorry,
called?
you want me to go back?
Yeah. Chapter 25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chapter 25.
That's a 7:30.
That's what you named, or you, all I did was got yours, copied it into mine, and named it choice.
So which one did you edit?
Yeah.
Go get it.
Go to your drive then and see if you edited it.
I just did.
Or just put
This is the
irrigation.
whole drive. I'm gonna put chapter
Maybe you
25.
nicknamed it.
25, let's see. This is the whole 3 terabytes.
And you didn't send it to me.
I did it? It has to be here.
I don't know how many Word documents you work on, but sometimes if I open Word, oh, never mind, it's not your computer. Oh, no, you
What was
have this
our,
computer.
what was our meeting?
If you open Word,
Oh, the history, the.
yeah, the history might be on there.
What was our meeting?
It was on 8/1.
Maybe you did
I have notes, but it had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, 8-1 would be, and it would have to be 6:30 PM.
Try the history on the Word, right, you think? No.
Well, let me-
No, at the
let
bottom.
it finish here. Where do you want
Okay, extend the meeting another 20 minutes to finish that one.
Y'all tell me what.
it?
No, Miguel's is smart. He goes, I think these guys are gonna keep going in circles, but I'm not gonna leave because as soon as I step out of the room, they're gonna try to sneak in.
Yeah,
So get a word in.
If you didn't hit saved and you X'd out without saving it, that's what's going back to the way it was
It
first.
was just the last 5 minutes.
It was the last 5
Yeah.
I have one, but it doesn't have all the red in it. You sent me something on the second, you're saying the meeting was on the first?
Yes, did I say something on the second?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can't view it because
Yeah,
you
you
know your phone.
Okay, let me send it to you.
And change it to,
Sometimes
Yeah,
on my
that's
phone
it.
too.
hopefully this is it,
No, no, no.
and we can, and we can
I'm
get
gonna upload it to.
we can get a picture, piece of paper.
I mean,
You know, send it on the bottom. Yeah.
Just click on one of those, and then go to the file,
They said, were you able to
Ah,
post
save
it,
as.
wanna get
file,
away?
and then
Save as.
open, or save
or
as.
open.
And then right there, let's
This
see, it.
key, this,
Chapter 20, if you look right there on 8.2, Chapter 25, plumbing and irrigation, it's on the desktop, TRB. Where it says older,
On the right hand?
go to the right,
On the-
right there. Click on that one. It's on the hard drive of this computer.
That's what I thought. You know, what-
Hallelujah!
Well,
Damn.
Get
You get a free,
I'm out.
There it is.
you get a free bottle.
There you go.
There we go.
Alright.
so it's,
Look, we got 7 more minutes. This is not part of the whole document. Real quick, all the way.
I'm gonna save this,
Let
let me save this.
Please.
Yeah, I think you said if you were, you didn't check on the hard drive.
Who said that? You said that?
But we're all sticking external drives. He has to work off his hard drive. I mean,
But that's the meeting computer. I mean, the meeting room computer. I guess.
Save it to my N1.
Let me save it, hang on, where you wanna.
It's got a little TRB action right there.
I just wasn't feeling comfortable
Seriously?
throwing that thing.
Zero skip.
No, you're right.
I was looking at somebody like,
I'm
come
on
on,
my-
guys.
Irrigation.
You're right.
I will-
Somebody asked the question.
Put final.
I'm making a folder first.
Attaboy.
That's on.
Proposed revision.
I'm gonna put here,
What?
Juan, no, I'm just, Johnny. No, what do you want to
10-3.
put?
Yeah, normally I put 18,
10-3,
18, 10, 03. 18, year, month, day.
Said
18?
Mexico.
Yeah, I was supposed to say.
No, 18.
You do or you
10-3.
Oh, my
Yeah, 'cause I can't do the other way.
Yeah, because when you sort,
Yeah.
it's better to put 18, year,
Yeah.
month, day, and it'll always sort correctly. If you put
That's the
10,
international
It'll give you, I get you one.
I didn't know that, but that's what, I figured it out after a while. We're local government, we're not international.
for
government.
coding
coding?
program.
We're the
Alright.
federal government.
Well,
So here, so do you wanna look at the whole thing?
just real quick, let's just go through it, because I have some reds that nobody,
Okay, so there's no changes, first, second page, third page,
look
wait.
up, right there.
Format.
Yeah, format, okay. Okay. The certification, is
It's been
that,
prepared, assigned by the,
oh, okay.
That was here, I think that CMO user, that's when you make the change here. And then the Chewy's when he made the change on his computer. So
so
yeah,
you're agreeing that this is the correct one?
Yeah.
Yes.
at least that piece is.
Okay,
that was
I'm,
approved.
as long as we're all on the
Oh,
same page.
go up?
There was a little underlined
No, that's
red.
just,
No,
No, a
no.
little bit further.
Step finish, no, it's
it's
correct.
just saying,
I looked it up, it's correct. Misspelling. I thought it was misspelled.
Look at his face.
Well, so we can go.
Yeah, no, let's go. I agree 10%.
Well,
Must
just-
comply with.
Just to be sure, maybe we should Google it again. Hit your wastewater is one. Since they got the squiggly line.
wanna look at that?
Yeah.
Well, it's just that.
No, I already saw that.
That was already saw that.
Good.
I knew that we saw that. We saw that.
Okay.
There you go. See, that says CMO user, that's right now.
Yeah, I remember that
Water
one.
sense, or low volume irrigation, high efficiency.
There's still water sense here.
Yeah, but it says
That
water
or-
or volume irrigation,
That's
high
right.
efficiency.
Yeah, that's
irrigation
check the rest
devices
of it.
as defined by manufacturer.
Perfect.
Okay.
Just make sure that's the last thing we did.
Okay,
And but we've got
okay.
the irrigator support on this also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you go back up, what were the changes up there, real quick?
The 50% rod.
So does that read?
If the area being irrigated has,
Oh,
contains rock
In excess.
in excess of
Okay, so
50%,
Grammar and
Grammar,
whatnot. So,
okay.
Backfill may be used around the pipe.
Okay, so it was grammar, I was correcting some of the grammar stuff, okay, go ahead.
it sounds like good work.
Yeah, you probably disagree with me on that.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, education.
Wait, there's quickly lights.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept,
Are we,
or are we
That
finished?
was the last page.
I'll make a motion, I want to go on the record book, so.
All right, you want the- Hold on, what was it? What was the motion?
I'll make the motion.
It's
To recommend this to
To
council.
recommend this to council.
But actually, I take it back, it needs to go to P and Z first.
No?
Yeah. well,
It's
no.
the land development code, in the code of ordinances.
Oh, this is land
They,
development?
no, the city charter, and they corrected me, planning corrected me, like, anything to do with development, whether it's in the land development code or not, they need to look at.
Anything regarding improvements, that's.
Anything regarding development.
Yeah, development
And that's what the
improvements.
city charter said.
Right,
So we must recommend.
I'll recommend we go to a planning zone.
Next meeting.
To the next level.
To the next
Next
meeting.
level.
But
Next
that's-
level, yeah, let's just say to the next level.
Second?
It's Kip.
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Excellent, good job.
you guys accomplished a lot today.
Chewy 2 years.
Oh, we have,
It took one.
no, I do think that. Everybody gets you our time, I'll tell you what, after seeing all the drive and all the folders and all that.
Look, I have it in the drive, I can put it in your drive, I can put it in your
Thank
drive.
God we had a document.
If you want.
You don't have to put it in my drive.
I'm gonna go put it in your drive. Send it to my drive, please. Was there a motion? Motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Stop the recording first. Send it to my drive. Yes, you should.